Right.
Hey kids, it's time for the Jack and Foe Super Power Hour with Jack Lloyd and the philosopher. Because I keep saying foe, it's the philosopher. I'm your announcer, Spike Cohen, and here's Jack and Foe.
Wow,
Hey.
thanks. That was such
amazing.
a good intro. Thanks for that intro, Spike.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
want to hear the show.
We're gonna be poor now because the royalties we have to pay to you from here on.
All of the, if this is monetized, I get all of it.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
basically.
Oh, no.
It's over.
It's over.
That's good. We had a fun time just recently hanging out.
Yes,
Yeah.
we
I feel
did.
like we soul bonded.
We did. We bonded. I felt
It's like
I felt like I left a piece of me with both of you. I'm gonna need that back. I'm gonna need it back, by the way. But I had a good time with y'all. We hung out at the Libertarian Party of Florida convention in Lakeland this past weekend. It was awesome.
It was really
It was
good.
really cool. Had you ever been to Lakeland, Florida?
To Lakeland specifically, no, I'd never been to Lakeland before. I've been to Orlando and that surrounding area, and I've been to Tampa Bay and that surrounding area. But apparently there's an area right between them called Lakeland area, or the Lakes area. I'd never been there before. It's a cool area. I think it's cool. It was a cool vibe there.
I noticed that there were a lot of lakes in Lakeland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Comes by its name, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was so when I was after we got to Lakeland and went to the hotel, I was like, well, we need to I need to have like video of me driving so I can put it on my social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, but I'm not near the ocean and I'm not near Disney World. What could I possibly, and there's like 15 lakes everywhere.
Right.
And so I did a little 10-second clip of me driving by a lake there, one of the lakes there. But yeah, no, it was beautiful there. In fact, I had so much fun with you guys that I think in roughly just over a month, we should get together at, I don't know, Reload Gun Range in Tarpon Springs, Florida, and do a range event where people can, oh my gosh. If you go to fullevents.com, you
like
can
I'm
register.
On the Waters podcast. Like,
I think you're on to
Jack and
something.
Fuzz show or Mother Waters? Hey, look.
That's
Ooh,
funny.
wow, look.
Wow.
I think this
I
man's
love
on to
that.
something.
I remember that in my mind. Now we got a picture of it.
Yeah, we
What was I pointing at?
I know what you were
You
pointing
will
at,
never know.
but I refuse to release it. I also have this.
I gotta see the. Wow.
Just think about it. Remember that one time you were in that position with Anthony. Just
With Anthony Samaroff, yeah. And Anthony, he signed Anthony, the other person in that photo that I'm pointing at something to in the lobby of the hotel. And no, it wasn't your cheeks. I saw that one. That was fun.
Those are great cheeks.
Those, I mean, you're not wrong.
I mean,
but
yeah.
But he actually signed a copy of his book, Universal Basic Income For and Against. He takes the against position, but he signed it for us to raffle off or to auction off at our 200th episode that Matt and I did earlier this week.
Right.
And he signed. I said he's going to sign it in Scottish, so we did. And what signing something in Scottish is it was like, oh, the next time you're in Scotland, ring me up and say, let's go get smashed or something like that. It was like this whole thing.
so good.
That was
Spike.
pretty.
He wrote this whole letter,
Natural.
and the way he wrote it, if you just read it phonetically, it sounds like you have a Scottish accent. So it's pretty powerful.
He does a good Scottish accent. I mean, I was very
That means
impressed.
he knows English well enough to like phonetically do it for you, his own accent. You know?
Right.
He's very good at both Scottish and English. Yeah.
Yes.
That's like me doing it the Chinese way, or like
What would the Chinese way sound like?
it'd be like O-H-H-H-H space H-E-R-R-O exclamation point.
Wow.
And then what's that sound like?
Put up the
Like,
pointing
oh,
graphic
hello.
again.
Yeah.
You want to make a dare?
Yeah.
But instead of deal, it's like dear.
That dare?
It's hard.
It can be hard. We actually did a lot of accents. We were eating on Sunday with him. He tried to train
Yeah,
us
Harry.
in his Scottish accent, actually, and He said I sounded like someone from Liverpool, so I was like, I'll take it. Close enough. It's like
I
almost
mean, it's close. It's on the same island. It's on
right.
the same island.
Did he say
So
100 miles, whatever.
he didn't teach me a lesson. He just wrote it out so that literally, if you read it phonetically, sounds pretty good. Sounds like you have a Scottish. I sounded like Braveheart. I was pretty proud of myself.
So now you have a way to practice. You just got to keep reading it, and then eventually it's natural.
I got to take pictures of it before I give it to. So the person who won it, who in the auction, actually lives in the same county as me. So I'm gonna have to. So I'm gonna meet with him. So he got a value add to it. He's gonna get to meet Spike Cohen. We've met many times. He's actually a friend of mine, and we get to pay to meet your friend. That's how I am now. You want to meet me? That'll be only $200.
$5.
So $5. And so I'm going to meet with him and give him the thing. But before we do that, I need to take a picture of it so I can keep practicing. Or I'll ask Anthony. I'll probably ask him to send me an email with like a long form paragraph of different things so that I can practice speaking in Scottish.
I mean, hey,
that'll help me with the Scottish vote.
Exactly. Yeah, you get both of them.
Okay.
both people.
Yeah,
both Scottish voters.
Both Scottish libertarians. You'll have the whole group.
Yeah, definitely.
So when it came to the events over this weekend, what was your personal favorite part besides speaking and hanging with us? What was like one of your
hanging with us?
Yeah, I just gotta leave that out. I just want to make it clear. No biases. So what was your favorite
besides that
speaking?
So what,
like a self-compliment.
I think what I enjoyed besides that, obviously, the second most that I enjoyed of that was, first of all, I just loved the fact that you were able to have a convention that had different factions in it, that had, different agendas in it. And yeah, there was some disagreement over different things, but everything was done civilly. And when the people who won and the people who lost, and it wasn't like there was one side that just don't, but when everyone came together, they worked everything out, and whoever won and whoever lost. They all dusted off their feet, got together and hugged it out and said, now let's move forward. And that's what it's supposed to be in this party. If we all, and I said this at my opening speech in Florida on Friday, and I say it everywhere I go, to anyone else that is in this room, and I usually start by saying, who here's ready to end the wars? And they who's here's ready to end the Fed and taxation and the war on drugs? And they all cheer. And then I'm like, who here didn't cheer for any of that? Dead besides Flaw. Everyone else should know I like the wars. I saw you. More wars.
Right. Yeah.
And the Fed, if anything, really. More taxes, but except for everyone else, and so there was no clapping for that. And I said, the silence you're hearing is the sound of the fact that you don't have an enemy in this room. You might have an opponent on a specific thing, or a specific faction, or a disagreement in messaging, or a disagreement in certain personalities to lead the party. All of that stuff, and these are all legitimate arguments and conversations and debates to have, and that's why we're here. So it's important. I'm not saying we all need to be best friends and never argue, and that would be pointless to tell libertarians not to argue anyway. What I'm saying is that
friends argue.
Yeah,
exactly. Friends argue, and libertarian friends argue even more. But everyone in here, if you all sat down, go over to whoever you think is your opponent in this room and write down 10 issues, and then ask your opponent what they think about each of those issues: healthcare, housing, higher education, whatever, the wars, immigration, whatever. You're probably going to agree 90 or 100% of the time. You're probably going to agree, if not on every single thing there, all but maybe one of those things. These are not your enemies, and we need to stop treating each other like enemies, and we need to start working together. And I was so excited to see that that's exactly what happened there in Florida. And I've been to many state conventions, and largely that's what I've been seeing. We've all seen what happened in Pennsylvania. We've all seen what just happened in New Hampshire. There have been examples where that didn't happen, but overwhelmingly in the places where we have had events, they have been incredibly successful, and different factions won different events. Sometimes it was a combination of this faction winning, that faction winning, whatever, but they all came together and they all understood what needed to be done. And so that was probably my favorite part, again, besides talking with you. My favorite part of the convention was just the unity and the camaraderie there.
I definitely felt that too, for sure. Everyone was respectful. I saw a lot less socialists. So, I mean, basically.
Well, there were some there even. Oh,
you did?
Lost you on,
I didn't.
Yeah, no, we lost you on your
Can you hear us?
own show. I can.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no.
That's
Nope.
I wonder why the video went away.
I think
It's now the Spike Show.
it's now the Spike Show. Hey, everybody. You're watching the Jack Foe and Spike Show with just me and their voices. Well,
Like
disembodied souls of Jack and Pho. I just like to take a moment to say how happy I am to have yet a third show this week. And for those who are joining in, thank you so much for being here.
Okay.
There we are.
We're back.
That was great. I like that intervention.
Yes. There we go. Yeah, I think
comment.
it's
How'd you know?
Microsoft.
Stop.
Yeah.
Stop saying the truth.
Now-
But yeah, so I definitely felt that camaraderie for sure. There were different caucuses, and I didn't even like people would share what caucus they were part of, but it wasn't even the focus. Like otherwise, I was just getting to know people. I was like, "Where'd you come from? What brought you to libertarianism?" Blah blah blah.
Right.
And a really common sentiment that I found, just to strike up a conversation with somebody, was, it's so nice that I could just be like, taxation is theft, and no one thinks I'm like a crazy person.
A weirdo. Yeah. No one asked you what about the roads. This is, I think I opened by saying that, that one of the reasons we're here is just to have some time of normalcy for us, where we're like around other people, where we can say our ideas and not have someone go, but how is you gonna fund schools? Like, and it's good. See, and I'm a weirdo, because when I talk about stuff and I get someone that goes, but what about schools? I get excited, because that is someone who I get to now explain what about schools. I get to tell them how schools would work in a libertarian society. At least. What's that?
You have their interest, at least. They're
absolutely. Yeah.
Conversation rather than, oh my gosh, you think too much.
Yeah.
No, it's good. Yeah, no, it's good to have someone want to know, and what a perfect opportunity to tell them. I think we get frustrated when we hear what about the roads for like the 6,000th time, but the reality is that's how we spread our message.
Right.
All of us at one point, or most of us,
we build the roads one bridge at a time.
One bridge. Yes.
Nah, it's kind of like, you know how like if you watch anime, I don't know if you do, but like Hunter x Hunter, so the really old guy, he's like a master. What is his name?
You're saying the
Master not
that
Roshi.
Master Roshi is Dragon Ball.
I know.
Or Dragon Ball, if you want to go
not
back.
Roku.
That Roku.
Is it Roku?
Roku.
No,
I have a Roku.
Now it just slipped my mind, because you said Roku and Roshi, and I'm like, oh crap, what's his name? And
let me Google what is it called?
Hunter.
So, in any case, describe the guy while he pulls up the name. And
so he's like this old guy. He's like, isn't he the head of the
Hunter Association? Right?
Yeah. Netero.
No,
Isaac Netero.
Yes, Netero. You're right.
Oh,
there we go.
Yeah. So he's so seasoned, and he talks about training. And it's kind of like when you're a libertarian, like think of Tom Woods, right? You could probably ask him in any state of mind, if he was like really tired, just like who to build the roads, and he'd probably be like, whoosh, like he'd just deflect, your objection to libertarianism.
Right.
Like explain it really well, you're saying.
Yeah, and then that's just like depiction visually of what I'm talking about.
Do you want to get here? I can get an image of Isaac Netero. Hold on, you keep talking.
Yeah, he's cool.
So basically what you're just saying is that there's lots of people in the liberty movement who have that level of experience, and it's just that easy. Like when you get the roads question.
To me, I do find joy from it too. Like you, Spike, that I do find it fun, and it's more about the person that I'm talking to. And, you know, I just remember and empathize when I was a statist and I said,
Yes.
who build the roads? I said that. And I was like, but who to my police? I'm like, I don't know how to use guns. Like, I watched all the Hollywood shows, you know? I'm like a silencer. That thing is dead quiet. Whoa!
This was,
put it
here
up.
we go.
How did you have control?
See, now Spike,
This is me.
final form.
Wow.
Look
Yeah.
Look at me. I am your Netero now.
All right, Spike, who to build the roads? Who to build the roads?
You are.
Who will build the roads? Okay, so the first thing I say when someone's like, "Who builds the roads?"
He will build the road.
You're gonna point at me.
He's explaining. Yeah.
I'll tell you who builds the roads.
Yeah.
If you look, this guy will tell you how to build the roads. No, the first thing is I say, you know, because they'll say, "Who will build the roads?" And I say, "Well, right now you're paying for the roads to be built, right?" And they'll say, "Yeah." And I'll say, "Okay, who has the most to gain or lose from having roads?" And they'll be like, "I don't know." And I'm like, well, let me put it this way. Who's making the most money from the existence of roads? You make money by being able to go to work or being able to travel and be able to go to stores. But who's the one who's actually benefiting the most? Walmart, Costco, Amazon, even companies like Netflix. They need to have the infrastructure in place for people to be able to bring cable out to you or to service your internet if it's not working so that you can use their services. Amazon obviously needs the roads to go to bring stuff to you. Walmart and Costco and Target and all these big box stores and and then even local stores and mini malls and everyone else, they need to have roads for you and literally everyone else to be able to go to them and for them to be able to come to you, which means they need all of the thoroughfares that are currently in place, not just you directly to them, but also for everyone to be able to get around everywhere. They need all of this infrastructure in place. They need roads, they need bridges, they need electrical, they need water and sewer, they need all of it, or else none of them can profit from this. Now, who's paying for it? Why are you paying for it? Why does Walmart?
They'll just offload it to you in the prices.
They just offloaded it to you. Now, they come into town and they go, okay, I'm going to open a new Walmart Supercenter or Costco or whatever, and I'm going to need you to build a merge lane here and a turn lane over here, and you know what? Probably going to need to build a road from over here so they can get here more easily, and go stick them with the bill for it with their property taxes.
Right. Even Disney does that right now. They have a huge, massive land, and they build all private roads because they want people to actually go to their various theme parks and resorts
and enjoy the way there and have smooth roads for your tires to.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
And because they built it, they did it far more efficiently than if the government did it. Because people will be like, well, are you saying to tax the companies? I'm saying no. If you take the roads out of the hands of government and say, this has to be taken care of by someone, people are going to eagerly step up to fill that void and take care of it. And they'll be able to do it for pennies on the dollar because they're going to they're going to, now that it's their skin in the game to pay for this stuff, they're going to find the most cost efficient way to do it. They're going to find the most effective way to do it, not just cheapest, but most cost efficient. Because if people start complaining, they didn't give us good roads, then they'll stop using you and they'll go to someone else. That's the whole purpose of this. You get actual stakeholders involved. And then I expand it out and I go, and this is true with education. This is true with everything. When the actual stakeholders who have skin in the game are the ones making these decisions, instead of having a bunch of appointed idiots who none of us like, who then go and appoint a bunch of bureaucrats and cronies to fill it out and then stick you with the bill for the whole thing, you end up with bad, inequitable, abusive outcomes, and you're the one paying the bill for it with interest. That's what government looks like.
Absolutely.
So that's my answer for the roads.
I mean, and
he's just getting started.
Exactly. Like 100%. That's all I can say. Like exactly same. Agreed. But
Thank you. So I've convinced you to be a libertarian. Is that?
Oh, I'm starting to feel very convinced.
Okay.
Well, even then, it's like, and a big part of it too right now is that people talk about what about the roads? I'm like, have you thought that the roads are already there? You know what I mean? It's like roads
There's
are
that as well.
They just need to be maintained.
It's just future
made. Crumble.
Right.
If government goes away, they will literally crumble.
They just disappear.
In fact, every time tax rates get lowered, you see like on the margins, the road just starts falling apart. And it's warning you. It's saying if you lower the taxes anymore, you're going to lose your shoulder. You're going to lose the merge lane and the turning lane. And eventually it's just going to be that little strip in the middle with the line on it. And then you're screwed.
Like Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future, like when he goes back,
yes,
it starts to disappear. The roads just start to like fade away. Like,
yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, they reduced
like
percent. The roads just start to fade. It's good. Yeah.
You can see every time that, I mean, you remember the tax cuts, the Bush tax cuts. There was, you know, like about 10 to 15% of the road just disappeared. It was terrible.
Yeah, and you know, we're just looking at one piece of the part of the roads, like just the actual control and how like it's more costly and things like that. There's also the other things that's not part of that equation that does affect it, which is like, what are they doing to the money? Oh, is everyone forced to use the U.S. federal, U.S. dollar and just print it into oblivion, and then like also borrow trillions of dollars and also extract millions of dollars from people every year, probably more, but just like from you alone, it could even be, it could be like 50,000, be 20,000 a year. That's like a car a year. That's like a big chunk of debt. That's like a, for some people, a student loan debt or whatever, and those are all the other stuff besides just looking at the cost of roads and even the need for roads, right? The value of roads versus what if you had like airplane B&B? I mean, yeah, like, you could rent an airplane and it's a private plane. You're a private, plane flyer, but like you have some extra time or you want to go here to like, I don't know, the Bahamas. And, and you're like, I'm going to go anyway. Let me make some money to like pay for the trip. Like, that's so cool, but like, when you have the feds involved, like they don't like it because they want control over all the airwaves. So you can't have opportunities like that. And also you can't have the wealth to even try ideas even.
You can't have the wealth, and the cost of living has spiraled so out of control. One of the things that I keep talking to people about, and I love bringing it back to the Fed, because I'm that kind of libertarian too, that always likes going back to the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
Except I tend to present it in terms that pisses off normies about the Fed. So I'll say something like, imagine if every dollar that you made was worth 50 times more than you have right now. Like, imagine if every time you made a dollar, it was actually worth $50 in purchasing power, and nothing else changed. The price of things didn't go up. It literally was just, you got 50 more bucks. And imagine how much money you could put away. You're no longer having to use, you're now able to pay off all your credit cards. You're able to put away money. You're able to build a nest egg. Every year you can put 30, 40 bucks on every dollar, of every 50 bucks you're making, you probably put about 40, 45 of it away and save. You can spend better. You can spend more money. You can live a better life. You can be putting money away. You can be building this nest egg. You can eventually not have to work for anyone else, start your own business. And now you're making all this other money that's also worth $50 more than every dollar that you're making right now. And you're just building more and more of a financial legacy. Now, imagine if your grandparents and great grandparents, if their money had been worth 50 times what it was worth, or I guess back then 10 or 20 times what it was worth, so that they could have built up that legacy and passed it on to you. That's how much the Federal Reserve has robbed you, because in the 113 years that it has existed, it has lost roughly 98% of its value.
Right.
So this is a direct robbery in the form of inflation due to monetary policy. But when you present it that way, it gets people pissed off, because I say the government and the Federal Reserves, the central banks, have basically robbed you of all this money. And they say, why? And I say, because all that monetary value that was robbed from you was handed off to them. Right. It was handed off to them and their cronies and their bankers.
Printed.
What's that?
Because they get the money first before, right when it's printed. So before like the market has time to adjust its prices with the sudden demand. So
they get the money first. It's why they're sitting on 90-something% of the wealth, right? Or 60-something, 70-something% of the wealth. Because imagine if I took a pizza and I went, okay, so check it out. This pizza, everyone gets a slice. But it's 8 slices now. I'm going to break it up into 160 slices, and you're still going to get a slice, but I'm going to get 100 of those slices or 120 of those slices, you got a slice, whatever that means, but you got much less of the pizza. The overall amount of that pizza is the same. I just took it. I just took a bunch of it. And that's what inflation is. It's the economy is worth whatever amount of currency we have in circulation. I just added several trillion of it and kept it. You lost that much in purchasing power, so I can have these trillions that I'm sitting on. And I don't care what inflation is because I can just print out more and more however I want. This is what it actually looks like. So, these are the ways that I talk to, normies. And most of my audience is normies, especially on Facebook. Most of my audience is millions of normies who are, and you'll see them. They'll come on and they'll say stuff like, I support the police 100%. But I think what you just posted, that was bad. They shouldn't be able to do that. We should do something about that. Or they'll say something like, I think we need to have some taxes, but that's an outright abuse right there. Like this kind of stuff.
Right.
This is who I'm talking to. I'm like anarchy for beginners. And I, pass them, bring them down the pipeline.
That's like a great book.
Yeah, for kids. Anarchy for kids.
Anarchy for beginners. You know what I mean? It's I like
what was it called? Anarchy for Dummies?
Quarter.
Is there anarchy for dummies? I never heard.
There should be. There should be.
I don't think there make that one because you'd be like anarchy for smarties, but you could make anarchy for dummies again. But
there is a WikiHow on how to be an anarchist, and I'm going to share.
That sounds. I'm
just going to share some of the pictures of it. I'll be right. We can keep talking, but I just want to share some of these pictures from Anarchy for the Beginners.
So basically, with just tapping off what you're saying, when it comes to these issues, thinking about what exactly is happening that's personal to each individual in terms of what's affecting their life now, and having the reality is really important, because sometimes politics is very abstract to people. Like, yeah, there's someone in DC, they're making up some law that I can't even read because it's 30,000 pages, whatever. But taking it and be like, hey, by the way, this particular policy, this is actually affecting your ability to afford retirement or afford pay for your kids' college. I mean, that's
exactly
stuff to hone in on and make people realize that this, I guess you could say, position that the Fed's in terms of how they arrange fiat and get rid of sound money, that is, the normal market money, really destroys people's generational wealth. So I think
it's robbing them. Yeah,
right. Is extremely important for people to get, and is very relevant for anybody who's actually just working and has money to be like, oh, really? Like, wait, you mean to tell me like, okay, it's more than just what's coming out of this, paycheck stuff that I see. There's also, all these different hidden ways that they're eroding my ability to save me. It's pretty powerful stuff.
It's good. It's exactly how you connect with people on a way that they understand, which is why I'm now going to show you the WikiHow for how to be an anarchist. So it's really, I just want to share the pictures of what
anarchy.
This is.
Oh my God.
Like, this is how to be an anarchist. You gotta, time is anarchy or something like that. Anarchy is not someone shooting someone, apparently. And then all of this and how you could, I like this one.
It's time.
I've never seen this.
Take your time. This is someone taking their time.
Wow.
And this guy's really happy about anarchy. Look at that. And this guy, he's figuring it out, or she's figuring. I'm not sure. I don't want to gender her. This guy, he's got it. This guy's got it. He's got giving you the finger guns there. I love this one because it looks like me. This is me explaining anarchy to a normie and her like remembering it and taking her time.
Now you're explaining it.
Yeah, and then you spread the word. You got to talk.
You're
explaining it to others. They're passing on. This guy's Amish, apparently. And
actually, the Amish situation is a common misconception too, because a lot of people think, "Oh yeah, Amish, right?"
I love the symbols. Look,
isn't the dialogue amazing?
And he's like, Amish.
Yeah.
This is like very high level.
What if that's his name?
Advanced language. And she's like,
also,
that's Amish are kind of like that. And he's like, really? I'm Amish?
Speaking too. It's
this one is
almost coming out of his arm.
So it's trying to tell her ex. she's holding up signs to say, "I want you back" with the anarchy.
That does look like that.
I mean, it's a good
Yeah,
point.
it's like
How
you
normally
complete me.
about
That's so
what
funny.
anarchy or
That's a great way
voluntarism
to
is,
put
because
it.
this is, if they're going to WikiHow on how to figure out how to be anarchist, they're going to be in some deep trouble.
So this guy, he's remembering all the times he got people to shake hands and listen to him talk very smugly, if you look at his face, about anarchy and what anarchy means to him. I like that all the anarchists are wearing ties in the little anarchy emoji
It's
here at the.
yeah, right. Of like your
How many
typical
times
anarchist,
have you
like-
read this, Spike?
I just like looking at I only read it for the pictures.
You
And
know the
so
images very well.
so this one, he's on his laptop. He's got the anarchy thing. So, and then of course some of the questions: does anarchy mean not obeying my parents' wishes? And it kind of goes downhill from there. But so anyway, this is kind of anarchy for beginners. Again, this is the one I want everyone to remember. When I saw this, I'm like, that's me. I'm talking to this lady about anarchy, and then later on,
Your
she's
sideburns like that. Definitely, I could see that. Right.
that's
there.
like that looks uncomfortably like me. And
just
like
grow
before
out
I
a little bit right there.
before I change my hair a little bit, and
Oh, it
then
does
and
look
then
like you.
little bit.
Yeah.
it looks like me, right? And then the
Oh,
lady,
that's all
she's thinking back to this and taking her time. She's taking her time with it.
Oh my god.
These should be memes.
Well,
And
I
we
mean,
kind of are memes.
memes are very effective.
That was great. Thank you so much for.
Yeah, thank you for that, Chantal. I needed that in my life.
By the way, I'm sorry for being like bright red. I've been on the beach all day long, so I'm a little toasty. I don't know how much that's showing. I'm pretty.
Hey,
Oh, I just thought you were colored.
I heard from Tasha. Did I say it right? Did I say that right?
She's trying to do Canadian.
No,
I mean,
I'm just trying to do it
you
correctly.
pronounced it correctly, but it sounded like a southern accent. It's Tasha. Yeah.
Oh wait.
Tash.
Yeah, you were Tasha.
Tasha.
You're like, I spoke with Tasha.
Y'all heard of Tasha?
Why?
It's from
Is
that.
that what did you talk to her like that?
No.
What did she think of that?
She was like, "Oh, you're from the
she goes,
south."
No.
You're from the south, okay.
So, her reation was like, I mean, Tasha's fine. I go by either. It's totally fine. I'm
Yeah.
like, I want to do it right. Tasha. And she's like, no, it's totally fine. And I'm like, I really want to get it.
I feel like you're doing it. I think you're saying her name really hard, and I don't know why. So we're gonna take a moment. So
I know a Tasha, but I never knew what
I know what
Tish.
Is it like if you put an O?
No.
No.
So you know taffy, like you know the
Yeah,
word taffy.
Oh
Or
yeah,
McCaffrey.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just Tasha
Tash.
or McAfee. Yeah, it's like that. It's just
Taffy.
it's just Tasha.
Oh,
But
you-
Tasha.
McTash.
I feel like you're really. I've never
no,
heard someone say
I
her name where
haven't-
they're like, "Tasha," like it's not that hard. It's just
I did not do
Yeah.
that. First of all, I didn't talk. Oh wait, no, I changed it again.
I mean,
No,
you kind of
Tasha.
did it's just Tasha.
just Tash.
I don't know why you're making a face while you're doing it. It's just Tasha.
It's not Tasha.
It's not Tasha. No, it's just Tasha.
Oh, like Tasha.
Down here, it's Tash though.
Like Tasha. That Tasha. No, it's just Tasha.
Well, you know when she comes down to Florida again,
Tasha.
she's gonna pick up the
Oh,
accent.
English so good. I've
So
heard
it's like
This is my
Taffy.
husband, Mr. Cohen.
Spack.
Tasha.
Spy Cohen.
Tasha. Tasha.
Tasha.
It's just Tasha.
Matt soon enough will
Okay,
have that
thanks,
accent.
Mike.
Yeah.
So did you get that right away, or am I the only one with trouble?
No, I did that for a long time. No, I
Oh,
didn't. I
okay.
said Tasha. I just
Oh.
so
Sorry.
here it's typically Tasha. And so when I saw her name and she said, no, it's pronounced Tasha. And I'm like, okay. In retrospect, I should have done what you just did.
Really?
And then she wouldn't
Put on
have
accent?
dated me probably.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, if I
Maybe
had
she
done
would. Maybe that's what she was looking
Ah,
for.
it's a soft.
maybe
hat.
she was waiting. It's
She
just a
wanted
Ta-
some
it's just
country
Tasha.
Hebrew loving.
I don't even remember the past way I said it anymore. Tasha.
She wanted
Tasha.
It's
just
so
Tasha.
simple. What was I
just
doing
simple.
before?
It's what
Tasha.
we all learn. We all learn.
Hey, Tasha.
What if you
All right.
had like a little
ready
brimmed
for
hat
next
though?
month.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a very small cowboy hat. That would have been the best.
Oh, like where it's off to the side.
All right, right. No,
Yeah, like
so
a little
you have
thing.
a keyboard,
Hey,
you know,
Tasha.
but it's
Yeah.
actually a
Wow.
cowboy hat. So it's like the
Tasha.
ultimate mix it's like Southern plus Hebrew. That would
Oh,
be
like a little yarmulke size
hat.
cowboy hat.
yarmulke, but cowboy
That'd be
hat.
cute.
Yarmulke cowboy hat.
Wow.
I think I could sell dozens of those.
Can you do that accent? Can you do a Hebrew Southern accent? Are you that good, Spike?
You're like,
No.
He's like, I'm not even
he's
gonna
like,
try.
Yeah.
No, I don't. That's still that's really just still a Southern accent. But no, I mean, there are a lot of Jews like in Texas. You could make like a Jewish cowboy hat that would be yarmulke size and just like be right there.
That sounds
Go to
like a
Texas
great
and
move.
sell
And it would cover my bald spot. So I have the Jewish balding pattern here that explains why our yarmulkes are right here.
It's
Well,
like, which one came first,
that's
that
what I'm
bald spot
thinking.
or the young?
That's
bald
what I
spot.
thought. See, I think
the
it's a
yarmulke.
plot by Big Keeper in order to cover up the most common male pattern baldness for Hebrews.
Yeah.
I know.
No, honey, I swear I'm wearing this to be closer to God. Oh, you sure it's not where you just covering your bald spot? Oh, my bald. I didn't even know I had a bald spot. I'm just covering I'm just, God said he wanted us to show submission by wearing this thing, but just right here.
If
That's
we actually
why that
had
is.
it pattern printed to match your hair, though, I could make $1 million off this idea. Honestly.
Oh my
Wow.
Right?
That's
Like,
actually
right? It's like
hilarious.
it's pattern matched, but it's still, perfect for synagogue.
That.
Win-win.
That's so.
Or almost like, how they do like perf where or like sod. So like a shaped thing, but it's the texture of your hair.
Ooh.
So you just put it there and it's real thin. So people are like, that must be his hair.
Right.
Right. But little did they know you're just trying to get closer to God.
But does it count like if it doesn't use a bobby pin, or it like isn't a bobby pin really what you need to make it official?
Oh,
You could have a bobby pin in there. Like that little thing that goes in that attaches to your hair.
Yeah, I mean that's how you guys make it.
Yeah, you could have one inside of that. You could have a thing inside of that and then put it there. You go, hey, look at me, I'm Jewish. And they're like, oh, I just thought you weren't bald. No, I'm bald, but I'm Jewish.
Wow, this is so specific. Like
Honestly,
I never knew
this
that
would
you had
probably sell.
that you needed a bobby pin for yarmulke.
Oh yeah.
That's
Otherwise
news
it flies.
It'll fly off your head. Yeah. It's just it's like a little thing and it just goes into your hair like that and it helps it stay on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So who created bobby pins? Which was it
That-
the Chinese?
That's Big Bobby.
That's big Bobby pin.
I've been doing that
Big
lately.
Bobby pin wants you to become Jesus.
I really like the big jokes. Have you done
Once
the big
becomes
jokes,
Jesus.
Spike? Have you done
What's that?
the big jokes, like the big crony corporation jokes? Like so you just go big blank.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
No.
Like if you think any funny like conspiracy,
Like she jokes about Big Pho.
It's like I lost a sock, and it's just like it's big sock.
Big
It's
sock.
big sock. Where's my sock?
So
Right.
my body man LaQuinn and I, when we were on the campaign trail last year. Now keep in mind we were operating. What's that?
What's a body man?
Oh, so he was basically like he was there to help me keep track of my schedule.
Got it.
He was the one that if I was talking to people too long and needed to be brought over here to talk to these people, he'd say, "Yeah, folks, I got to bring them over here." So he was just literally following me around, holding all my stuff because politicians can't have stuff in their pockets because they look lumpy.
That's usually called slave. But okay,
yeah.
okay, got it.
No, he was paid and very happy. He could have left at any time. So he was free to go at any time. And so he like opened doors and stuff. Like he was that sort of behind the scenes guy that was doing all this stuff. He's also like my best, like probably, if not my best, he's one of my best friends. I've known him for like 12 years. So I picked him and I'm like, why don't you come in and go with me? We lost you guys on video again. It's just me again. So we were going around the country and on like almost no sleep. We were sleeping maybe an hour to 2 hours a day, and our jokes got like really weird. And are you back?
Oh, we're back.
Yeah,
you're
I
good.
think so.
You're good. Keep going.
So our jokes just got really like weird because we were just so tired. And the big thing was one of those. So, in my speech that I would give most days, I would say something like, they want you to be desperate. They want you to be in a bad situation because that makes it easier for them to, make you bend to their will. And that's the whole point. And so I would, without fail, whatever would happen, we would, go up to a gas station that was on the GPS and it was out of business. And we'd go, Big Gas wants you to be searching desperately for one of their gas stations. They want you to be driving on fumes. Because if you're driving on fumes, then they can come up to you and say, we need more power and more of your money and more control over your life. Then we'll let you get gas. Then we'll let you be able to drive to where you're going. Well, folks, we know that's a bunch of hogwash. We know that we're voting for Joe Jorgensen to end this nonsense so that we can go to the gas station and get gas. Like, we were just constantly like, that was, and so he would do it too. And it would be like the dumbest thing. It would be like, we would order a side of something and they didn't bring it. And he'd be like, folks, Big Breadstick wants you to not have a breadstick. We would just keep doing that.
That's pretty funny. Or big thumbs.
So you are in on it. That's awesome.
You are in. Yeah.
I am in on that joke. And I also, again, those jokes were motivated by minutes of sleep that we would get in between events. We'd go to bed at like 2 a.m. and wake up at like 4 a.m. To go and start, flying to the next thing or whatever. So that was on.
Wow.
Our jokes were dumb because we were tired. Yes. We were tired and our jokes were stupid. And we liked them. But then I'd go and like tell, for example, my wife or, some like other person. I'd be like, hey, check this joke out. And I'd tell them and they'd be like, you need to get some sleep. And I'm like, no, I know. I know I do.
Oh, that's good. Well, good news is that coming up, you'll be getting some sleep and stuff coming to the event. So that would be nice, finally. And I think, I am excited too. So we are meeting, that's July 17th, right?
So
yes, it's July 17th. And I'll throw this up really quick here just to show everybody. Boom.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. So Saturday, July 17th, Reload
So
Gun
nice.
Range. We're going to do the talk and photo up starting at 4:30, and you can learn more about what's going on at funevents.com. But one thing I did want to ask beforehand was, what guns have you shot already?
Nice try, ATF. No, gosh, I've shot a lot of different pistols and rifles. I got to meet. So my most recently, I got to shoot the solutionary rifle, Maj Therese.
Really?
Yeah, and it's chambered in. Well, I don't know if it's 5.56 or 2.23, but whichever one of those it is. So I got to shoot that.
Yeah.
His custom?
His gun, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's custom. I think I mean it's based on it's an AR build.
Right.
I don't believe it's an AK build. I believe it's an AR build. But it is so custom. It's so custom that there's, without me looking at it, I can't remember if it was AR or AK build. It's a very, very customized build. So I got to fire that.
I didn't even know there was a thing called the solutionary build. Now I want to try it.
Yeah, it's the solutionary rifle, and actually the slide is on the top.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's like a sight that's on the top, but it also doubles as or the slide's right behind the sight. It's either the sight is the slide or the slide's right behind the sight. And
they are the target up top. You got 2 fingers down and it like pulls and you pull back, right?
Yeah. The two, it's like a circular thing and the 2 finger. Yeah.
Right. I think his custom too, and that he's got his own like little thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So did he change? He changed.
You
it
shot
up
that
then?
style. Nice. Yeah. So then that means that chances are you're going to be shooting a lot of cool new stuff at this event.
I hope so. I'm excited.
Yeah, we got.
I'm excited.
We're going to bring in some things. Hopefully, some other people will be bringing some good stuff too. Last time we were very lucky. Actually, can't promise that this happens again, but we just happened to have someone who brought in 9 guns to shoot and ammo. That was pretty freaking awesome. Then, so we got to try a bunch of different stuff in addition to the things that we had. So that was a lot of fun. But we're going to be on the pistol range. So we'll be shooting anything that's pistol caliber. So it can be a rifle as long as, it's chambered.
Chambered in pistol caliber.
Right. Cool. Or actual pistols. So some people brought some really interesting things to shoot, including, I think, one of the guns that wasn't literally on the John Wick set, but it was one of the ones in the John Wick films. So that was pretty awesome.
That's cool.
And that one too.
Is that the one from Jesse?
Yes,
Or-
Jess. Well, I think actually, wasn't that Richard who brought that?
Oh, was it?
Jesse
Richie?
brought a bunch. So the guy Jesse was the one who brought like 9 different guns that were,
And
and
he does competitions. So
he
everything
brought his
had
competition pistol and stuff like that.
really
But
nice triggers and barrels.
yeah,
Changed out, totally custom.
That's awesome. I'm excited. I haven't been able to shoot since, gosh, was that February? Yeah.
we did the Monstray thing.
This past February?
No, that was the Monstray. That was December, wasn't it? It was
wow.
either December or February.
Oh,
Hold on, I'm gonna look it up. This is me
Yeah,
just Googling. This is the Spike Google
wait, a
thing.
long time ago.
There was a bunch of people shooting at the event too
Yeah.
from the that is at the LPF con. There was a group of people who went and shot, but we didn't get to go. But they were apparently shooting a bunch of interesting stuff. But that's always a
There
libertarian
was
event.
one that Richie
Guns.
had that I really
Mhm.
wanted to shoot, but was it a Tavor? I can't remember. But anyway,
Yeah.
Wow, no, that was back on. This doesn't say where. This was back in. This was either November or December of the. Yeah, this was either November or December of last year. That was the last time
That's so long.
I know it's been forever. I haven't had time. I've literally just been going
Right.
every weekend. I'm at a different event. It started in. I thought I was going to get the holiday season off. Turns out no. And then
Wow.
this year started with a anti-lockdown event in California in Sacramento back in January, and I have been a different place every weekend since.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh. Wow, it's been 6 months. So is this
Yes.
your first time home, or do you have you been at home like every month?
Oh yeah. Yeah. In between the weekends, I'm typically at home. Now, this one, I got home yesterday, and tomorrow I'm driving to Greensboro, North Carolina for
Right.
their convention and to do a big outreach event there. Then the following weekend, I'm going to be in Michigan for their event. That's my birthday weekend. The following week, the 4th of July weekend, as of right now, is free. But I'm already having people in South Carolina asking me to do something for 4th of July. My best guess is I'll end up doing something for 4th of July. Then after that is an event, the Breaking Boundaries event in Tunica, Mississippi. And then after that is your event for the 16th and for the 17th.
Mhm.
And then after that is the and then it's
you
getting
tired?
blurry after that. What's that?
Are you tired yet? Like you feel like
You know what? I sleep well. We make sure. So I keep reminding myself during the campaign when I'm like, or during this when I'm like, wow, this is difficult. I remind myself, right now you're going to a different place every weekend, and then you get to come home and have a relatively. And also I'm retired, so like anything that isn't political, anything that isn't my activism or whatever, is just me spending time with my wife, having downtime, whatever. Like because I don't have a job.
I don't have a job.
I don't have a job. Lazy millennial bum. No, I mean I've been retired for almost 5 years now, and my
congrats.
Yeah.
well,
You don't
thank you.
65
Yeah.
or whatever the new age is before you can get your
67.
social
No, I had my business and sold that, so I'm past that now. But when I get like, man, I'm real tired, I could use a break. It's like, hey, schmuck, remember 5 months last year where every single day you were in a different place, sometimes multiple states every day, and you never had downtime. You had like 5 days off the entire campaign, and they were never contiguous. And even on those days, you had a ton of interviews and stuff. You didn't just get to hang out; you were still doing stuff. You can do this. So that's what I tell myself. And again, I'm enjoying it. My purpose of doing this is to bring people into the liberty movement and keep the people who are here excited and give them things to do so that we can actually make changes. Because this is what happens every time after a campaign, right? We saw this with Johnson Weld. We saw this, I don't know how much we saw with Bob Barr, but definitely with Johnson Weld. We saw all these millions of people. They came in, they voted, and then they're like, hey, what's next? And the answer was nothing. There was nothing next. And so many of them fell off. and we lost almost all the momentum. Coming out of this campaign, I started to see that same thing happening where it was like, hey, everyone, thanks. See you in 4 years. And it was like, no. We need to, there are millions of people who are excited and who want to do something. So let's give them something to do. Let's get them involved. Let's give them things to, if nothing else, to share on social media and to, to get the message out there. But let's give them things to do. Let's give them events to go to. Let's give them stuff they can do in their backyard. Let's give them homelessness outreach events. Let's give them ending qualified immunity coalition events. Let's give them decriminalization coalition events. Let's meet with other people who agree with us on specific things, work with them, and then invite people to come and let's get excited about it, because nothing wins like winning. And the more success that we can have bringing people in and accomplishing things, the more we can build on that excitement and bring more people in, build a momentum, and get real things accomplished. We spend so much time every 4 years worrying about the White House. Not only is that only one office and only one thing on the scale of all the things that need to be done, but it's impossible for us to even get there if we don't do these things first. If we aren't able to affect our cities and our counties and our states and places, our backyards where we live, then what the hell makes us think we're going to win the tens of millions of nearly 100 million votes, 75, 80 million votes we're going to have to win to get to the White House? What on earth makes us think we're going to get anywhere near anything more than 1 or 2% if we aren't at a point where we can actually affect what's happening in our city halls and county councils and state legislative meetings, and bringing people into our ideas and getting them to realize we don't even need a damn government, and get them involved in agorism and counter economics and building post-state societies now. Like that's what we have to do. And so that's what keeps me excited. That's what I'm doing.
That's great. I love that. I really felt that at the conference too. It just reminded me being in person, there's nothing else like it. Like going, shaking hands, being around so many people, helping each other out, like, opening the door for someone. Like those are memories that you'll always remember. And while I remember a lot of the interviews that I've had and have met a lot of, cool friends just from being interviewed by them, Spike, but there's nothing like actually meeting somebody in person, being able to give them a hug, get to know them, treat them out for food, and I love that idea of just that focus on your community. I mean, at the end of the day, isn't that what it is? Like, with the state or not, you live around the people you live around
in your community.
They liked that particular area of whatever geographical area, and they like the weather there or whatever, and they bought land, and now you're each private property owners, and you should learn how to coexist. And I think that most people do. Most people don't want conflict. I mean, humans naturally avoid conflict. There's just some that have a lot of power and would rather use that power to like control others and just acquire more wealth and property. Makes sense. That's also a desire too.
The two things, they both boil down to the same thing. What makes someone much more likely to use conflict is if they can be removed from it. And the two ways that you can be removed from the conflict you want to see is through power, so that you can actually force other people to do it, and by proxy, so that you can vote for or hire someone else to do it. What voluntarism, anarchy, whatever you want to call it, what that does is it makes it where if you want to do violence, you can't proxy vote your way to violence. You can't build a voting coalition with a bunch of euphemism and good sounding terms to get people to vote for essentially violence and coercion on others and yourself. Frankly, it's going to hit you too, but violence against people. And you're not going to be able to centralize power in this artificial presumed authority situation that we have under government, where you can hire other people to use violence against each other and to use conflict and to inflict conflict on others. Conflict now, instead of it being something you can impose on others or vote via proxy for someone else to do, now it's something you actually have to directly do to someone else who's directly doing it to you. And for the same reason that you see people, they are on social media and they're typing and saying all these terrible things that they'll never say to someone in person, right? Mm-hmm. In that same way, you strip people when you strip centralization away and when you strip proxy violence away, now you got a bunch of people that are going to have to actually work together and provide value to others. This is what happens when we look past the idea of a centrally planned authority. Authority and hierarchy is going to naturally grow in a decentralized society, but it's going to be based on value and respect and merit, not on I make you do this, or you have to listen to me because I have this badge on, or because I have this title next to my name and I sign sheets of paper in this marble building behind me or metal building behind me, and you have to listen to me. It's I have authority because I have created this much value in my community, and people respect me and want to hear what it is I have to say, or I have this amount of wealth that I've created and have people working under me because of the things that I've done and created for people. And this is a voluntary, non-coerced arrangement all the way around. So for people who want to do well in life and get ahead, now, instead of giving them a cheat code where they can lie to people or rob people or use proxy violence against people, now you're stripping that away. And if they want to do well in life, they have to provide value to those around them. They have to be someone that people see the merit and value in, giving them wealth, giving them authority, giving them power, and so forth. And that's what a voluntary, anarchist society looks like.
Yeah,
absolutely. And you have to work on it every day, as Bob Wildefish here says. He says, sleep is for the weak.
Thank you so much. Bob Whittlefish. That's a cool name.
Yeah. So, and that's basically, I think Spike's motto here. No, he works so much, and he's like,
last year it was. I actually sleep. People think I don't get any sleep. I actually get like at least 7-8 hours of sleep a day. I just, I just
tweeting in your sleep. You're like,
I didn't say it was all at once. I just, I get a nap here and a nap there. No, I sleep well. I have around it, like I said, pretty much all day today. Yeah. I posted or tweeted something in the morning, and did a phone call with someone that I had scheduled, and then I was at the beach all day. And then I got off the beach quickly enough to do a Zoom meeting with some people, and then I jumped on this. Like I'm living again, because I'm also retired. If I had a full-time job, I would not be able to do this. I would need my weekends.
Libertarian supermodel. Right. I mean, let's not hide the facts here. Your beauty, your beauty is
everyone
is
wants
really
to take pictures
my beauty.
of you.
That's what you're working toward.
They want to buy you drinks. I don't get it.
A beautiful.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm
He's like, you're so wise.
Gotta get my sun in. Gotta get my beauty sleep.
I'm like a very old. By the way, this is how I feel among millennials. By the way, like this photo. So like the term geriatric millennial, that's me. I am So I was the first and only millennial to be on a ballot in all 50 states on a national ballot. I'm the only millennial to ever do this. Okay. Well, thank you. The reason I'm the first millennial is because I'm the first one to qualify for this. So in 2016, there were no millennials that were old enough to be able to do this. This was the first year that millennials were eligible to be able to do it.
Wow.
Interesting.
And because, the cutoff's 1981, I was born in 1982. That's the beginning of the millennials. Now, people are like, well, you're kind of a young Gen X. And I was like, I don't feel young, but okay. But recently, I don't know, a month or two ago, I heard the term geriatric millennial. And I immediately connected with this term because I'm like, that is me. I'm a millennial, but I feel so old. Like I feel old and creaky when I talk to the children. I have people on my volunteer team who are like in their late teens, early 20s, 19, 20, 21-year-olds. And I have conversations with them. They are grown adults. They have, these are very smart libertarian kids. Right. They got all these, they understand. And then like, I'll talk to them about something and they'll be like, yeah, I wasn't born when that happened. I'm like, get off this phone call. Like, I do not want to talk to you anymore. Or I'll do this. I'll be like, yeah, I was on the phone with someone. And they're like, why are your hands, are you doing like the boog salute? And I'm like, no, I'm on the phone. And they're like, why are your fingers out? And I'm like, get the hell off this Zoom call.
Right. Yeah. It's like,
so by the way, here's a fun thing.
Hang loose. Yeah.
Why are they out like that? So go up to someone under the age of 20 and say, pretend you're on the phone
Mhm.
and use your hand to signify. You know what they're going to do?
Mm.
You know what they're going to do? They're going to do this stupid nonsense.
Oh, that's a good
They're
one.
going to go.
No, this
Right,
is what
that's
I
a-
would do because my phone's so
You're right.
freaking
I would do
big.
that. You're
I
right.
have to do this.
No,
I have
you're
to
right.
do,
You would
like-
pretend to be holding the phone.
This-
Yeah.
You're right.
Well,
This is what I would
yeah.
do. You're right. I
Well,
would do
no,
that.
It's either that-
actually,
it's-
I used to do this. Like, call
This
me.
is
Right.
what normal human beings do.
Right.
But
they're
I don't
either
know
gonna
if
do-
people do call me
That's a
anymore.
good point. Yeah.
I don't think
They're
anyone
going to
even
do this.
called me.
Like
but I
this.
don't think they even do that. Though.
Right.
It's just not a thing. That
Give it to a kid. Give
We're
it
gonna
to someone.
We're gonna need to do some empirical
But
research.
that's
Give
a
it-
great question.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, give it to
Yeah,
a
no,
kid
no,
and
you're
have them do this.
You're
And
right.
they're going to be standing here like this, like a schmuck, and then smash their hand into their. No, don't do that. But like I have, and they do this, and I'm like, just I can't deal with you. So no, I'm a geriatric millennial. And if you want to find out more about how you too might qualify
Wait a
for
minute.
AARP
When were
benefits
phones
as a,
ever like this? Wait a minute. Wait. Now I'm thinking about it. Wait, because don't you pick up a phone and you pick it up like this, and you're like, hello?
so
Hello?
this is it's proving your brain works differently than most people because you're actually thinking about picking up the actual device instead of
Yeah.
simulating the device.
Right.
Oh,
So you would go like this
I see. All right.
or
Well,
whatever.
there's other
No,
questions.
that's good. That's just how your brain works. But most people, when they talk about I'm on the phone, they do this. But then these kids are like this because
That's just how my
She's
brain
very
works.
special.
they're children.
That's like what my
So-
brain.
Right. No, you're
That's
totally
just how
right
your
though.
brain
No,
works.
it's
No, I'm
you're
just
right. They grew up. They had no concept of like even the idea of picking up, a
Yeah,
phone
yeah.
that rings on the hook kind of thing.
Right.
We can
Exactly.
remember. I mean, I do. I remember, phones on the hook. I remember dial phones. I remember the long cord and having to, wrap it around your body as you're walking.
As you're walking, because it's like wrapped it. Yeah, it's
Right.
the
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And it was so cool when you finally had the, kind of radio wave. I think, I don't know what the hertz band was. Like, was it like?
Oh, the 900 megahertz.
Right,
900 megahertz cordless phones. You can
Right.
go up to 20 feet away from the
Right.
receiver.
That was
Yeah.
so cool. All right, party line, three-way. We did
Three-way party line, which is
Oh,
basically what
three-way
Clubhouse
call.
is.
Your
Do you remember three-way calling?
Yeah,
Like where you
three-way
like
calling
call
was
up a
fun.
friend and then be like, oh wait, let me go get the other friend. On
You
the
know who
line."
would love to be on this conversation?
Yeah.
Some other schmuck. Yeah, no, this is what it was like being an old millennial. This is
Right.
what old millennials talk about. Or like
Am I an old
back.
millennial? Wait, I thought we were
no,
talking about Gen
not.
Z. Is Gen Z like this? Like the flat phone? I
Gen
mean,
Z's like this. Gen Z
Yeah.
and younger millennials are like this. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like
that's
this.
like baby millennials, though.
No, they're not millennials.
It's very, very young.
They're
Oh,
not in the
that's still
bracket.
millennial.
They're not in the bracket. They'd be Gen
Are we
Z.
talking like late 90s? Is that young?
Yeah, what? Hold on. Let me see what the millennial.
Some do it up to like just before 2000. Like that's late. Like if you
Right.
do 1999, some people do it that way. Some people will
So
define it that far.
I
But-
have
Okay,
to,
so
Yeah.
generally it's considered 1981 to 1996. So right now, anyone between the ages of 23 and 38 or 20.
Mm.
No. Anyone between the ages of 25 and 40 is a millennial right now.
okay, so
Hmm.
25 to 30 are your young millennials. I see.
Well, yeah, 25 to 30 are young millennials, and everything up here are older
Where's the
millennials.
middle age then? 30 to
30 to
35?
35. And then 35 to 40.
That's like middle-aged millennials. Yeah.
Right. Oh, okay. I got it.
how do we
But,
reach out to middle-aged millennials?
I have to say, that's actually
that
a great point that
that
you
demo-
said.
beloved demo.
I think there is.
Yeah.
I think you're right that there is kind of a difference between like if you're saying the age bracket just within 5 years, because within 5 years a lot can change.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So within millennial, you have like a span of 15 years. So you could have like the quote older millennials have a kind of a different experience where they may have actually been able to, like, for example, have a career in a rising industry
Mm.
that a young millennial was just a baby and couldn't, like, they were just a kid. So they grew up with it. They played with it. So the young millennials, a lot of them I notice really good with using the internet, really good with using computers. They're very handy and fast, because a lot of them, if they were born in the 90s, like they grew up with that technology and saw it change slowly, like saw Game Boys become like crazy HD
Girl.
And had to figure it out as they were going along. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas you could say maybe like Gen X or the older millennials, some of them were able to, by the time the 90s came, they may have been old enough to actually like have a career in that technology and kind of have a little advantage in that regard, because they could like actually make money through that time and kind of gain, you know, a hold of seniority, you know. So interesting. I find it fascinating.
So we're seeing the first idiocracy generation where the technology has become so advanced that they just sit there and press the button, because that's all. It's like they're the one that says, "Welcome to Costco, I love you," and they press the button. And it's like,
and there's a lot more to take for granted growing up in this age,
right?
There's so many more things just
kids these days
and delivered.
Yeah, we're now complaining about these kids.
You can order
these damn kids.
It's like
when I went to school,
now
I had to walk through a pile of.
You're like, when I went to school, I had to use Netscape, and I heard that, and it loaded the internet from my AOL disk.
Yeah, no, so another thing, when I was talking with some kids at one of these conventions, and I call them kids, anyone younger than me is a kid. So I've called people kids, and they're like, and they're like, I'm 29. I'm like, you're a kid. I'm sorry. And so I'm talking to them, and I'm like, you know, I talked about how like I had to get off the phone because someone was using the internet, and they're like, well, why were you being loud or something? And I'm like, no, that was the same phone line as the internet. And they're like, oh, you didn't have like wired internet? You're like using data? And I'm like, no, it used to be a phone. And they're like, why are you doing that with your fingers? Like, this is my life when I'm talking to these kids. And I'm like, no, it used to be, there was dial-up internet. So you had to actually connect to a home phone line, and it would make all these noises, and then it would connect. And if you were on the phone, your home phone line, because we didn't have cell phones, or if we did, they were very expensive to use. When you were at home using your phone, you had to hang up your damn phone so you could use the internet, unless you were super rich and had a second phone line. And then you could be on the internet, but you'd hear the noise on the other line. And I'd tell them this, and they're like, that sounds so barbaric. And I'm like, that was what your parents lived under. Like, so I don't know why you're giving, like, that wasn't that long ago. This was
so fascinating.
Did you save your school projects on 3x5 floppies?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, I got a couple megabytes free on this.
Yep.
You know, I just have to say that I would say the period of the 80s to 2000s, 80 to 2000. This 20-year span was so fascinating in terms of the evolution of technology, especially computers, right? And the rise of the internet, like how drastically you saw that change. I would say once you're after like 2000, especially after 2010, you didn't see that transition. So I don't know. It's just, unless you look back and you see like, and you're
saying from analog to digital, like the level of going from analog to digital.
Yeah. And then
it was a revolution. Everything changed almost. It was so weird that time, because I was like 12, 13.
Huge to little computers in your hand, and now like in a tiny little device, like anything, a Fitbit, a little watch, like it's incredible. And for me, like growing up in the 90s, it gave me a very unique perspective on and a true like love for just technology and free markets. Just like seeing how many, like, first of all, there's billions of people in the world, and what happens when everyone lives in peace. All those billions of people live in peace, right? They're not starving
on the internet together.
Wealth to go around, no one's starving, like standard of, cost of living is lowered, standard of living is up. And then you actually have the free time to be like, okay, I don't have to spend my whole week trying to get some food and hunt this animal or whatever.
I'm
actually going to spend my whole week diving really deep into, I don't know, like computer science. I don't know. I just like the quickest
whatever.
thing.
Yeah.
But, and then you can have all these innovations suddenly like go up at an exponential level and increase. It's a world that I can only imagine and only taste from what I saw just within that 10-year span, being in the 90s. Like, 10, 20-year span of just that
The
rapid,
90s.
incredible development. And
The 90s.
yeah.
No, the 90s were nuts because we started the 90s where the beginning of the 90s was not substantively different than the beginning of the 80s for the average person. It was, I mean, yeah, the cars had gotten newer, the politicians had changed, but that society was, we saw the beginning of some wireless phones and cell phones, but that was still something for wealthier people. That was a thing that we were talking about might happen in the future, that type of thing. Then all of a sudden the internet came in like 92, 93, and everything changed within like a 2 or 3 year period. We went from what the hell is this to I got to get on Amazon.com and buy a book. Like it went to like this, it went really weird really quickly. And then the next time there was that kind of an extreme, and then there was like you said, kind of into the 2000s, you just sort of watched that technology continue, but it wasn't like this revolutionary change. Then social media happened. And it was the same, like, it went from, yeah, I heard of MySpace. It's kind of, for me anyway, I'm like, yeah, I heard of MySpace. Sounds like it's for younger people. Not really my thing. Yeah, no, I've heard of Facebook. I should probably check it out. Oh my God, everyone's on Facebook. And now everyone's on YouTube. Everyone's on, so like that I guess late 2000s to now, where it's like just becoming this whole other, we're now in this like social media society. So it's just, it's incredible what can happen when markets are used. And the only bad that has come from any of those things has been when government has gotten involved and either forced actors in those markets to do things, or those actors have leveraged power in government to force others to do things. And the common denominator, again, is this is what happens when you put too much power in the hands of too few people and give them guns to point at everyone. And that's what government is. That's what that presumed authority of the state is. And there's no legal protection that's going to stop that. If there was, then the Articles of Confederation that happened after the Revolutionary War would have given us a very tiny government that we'd still be living under, that isn't allowed to tax anyone, isn't allowed to raise an army, and basically leaves everyone alone. It immediately was usurped with the Constitution, which gave some limitations of government, which were immediately ignored. Spooner was saying this back in the mid to late 1800s, that the governments that we have, their founding charter documents are either powerless to stop what has happened, or they were written intentionally to create these. In other words, they're unfit to exist. And I'll go even further and say the concept of presumed authority of the state is unfit to exist.
Right.
Definitely. And I think what that actually shows is that at the end of the day, it's culture and what most people accept as a norm, as ethical norms. That's it. Like, it took time, but most people get that slavery is wrong, right? Like, total ownership of another human is wrong. And we live in an interesting time where we're having conversations like about peaceful parenting and spanking being wrong. When like, don't kill and eat your children. Like, don't molest them. That was what
you got past
the conversation back then was. I'm glad that
don't sacrifice your kids to the sun god or whatever.
There's another way. There's medicine. You know what I mean? Like, or we can study empirical evidence, make observations about the world. Anyway, so
we can just not kill kids and sacrifice them to gods.
Yeah, and now we're also from like, that's just a part of libertarianism, is like the idea of peaceful parenting. But there's also like the nature of the state, went from like maybe like tribal village, like take over, rape and pillage another one. And it's just kind of like, whatever, to like, okay, huge like societies where there's like one king or government, and there's a big royal family, and there's like a huge army, and it's all based on this like belief that that family is royal and they're like God, and then like things started to change. People started focusing on individual humans, individual liberty. And so they're like, okay, well, maybe we should have some consent in this system, in this rule. So they're like, okay, democracy. And now that's what we're kind of getting out of, I think, the death of democracy in all the societies around the world where they have adopted it. I mean, you even have North Korea, they like the term so much, like, oh, we're the People's Democratic Republic.
Democratic Republic of Korea. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So the
Such a
first
definition of the word and the intention of democracy, which is you as an individual should have a
get to
say.
decide. Yep.
But what we are fighting as libertarians is that, hey, look, you're making an exception. You say you value individual liberty, but look, you override somebody who gets outvoted. You override their body and property rights just because they got outvoted. And what we're just pushing for, which seems so radical to some, but once you get it, it's really not. It's just it's just reciprocation of ethical values. Of I respect your body, you respect mine. I respect your property, you respect mine, and that's it.
Mhm.
And the world is our oyster. We could
Exactly.
build heaven on earth if people just stop killing each other or violating each other and more insidiously psychologically manipulating people and not being honest and lying and not being truthful and actually trying to seek truth in reality instead, just trying to deceive and control and manipulate. So that's what I think, as modern libertarians, what we're tasked with. It's more advanced than what people had to do with the past. It's more like cerebral. It's in your mind. It's more conceptual. And we're really pushing this idea of individual sovereignty and body and property rights and just trying to hone taxation is theft. Just try to get people to get it, to just wake up and see that, look, you can be your own ruler. You don't need Joe Biden licking ice cream ruling over you.
Right.
You are your best ruler, and we can work together so long as
Are we doing ice cream ASMR now? It's like I'm Joe Biden. I'm sipping. I like this. This ice cream's there. This ice cream's very good.
mainstream articles talking about saying, "Hey, look at Biden make a comment about this while he licks ice cream."
While he eats ice cream, it's like who the hell?
Yeah.
Cool. While he takes a dump. I don't know.
Cares?
Well,
They're like, look, I know you think he's a politician, but he's human. Look at him. Look at his tongue.
He's not a reptile or a robot.
Eating.
Look.
look,
He's
look.
eating.
look.
It's like when they really try to promote Kamala Harris eating a chicken wing or whatever, a chicken leg from a food truck.
Wearing Timberlands. Look at Kamala Harris. She's wearing Timberlands. How many people has she thrown in jail for victimless crime? I don't care that she's wearing Timberland. Give me a break.
Right.
Something interesting I learned about with government.
Roll over me, Kamala. You're so
step on me with
you're so great. Yeah, step on me with your Timberland
shoes. Ooh.
So the first recorded government that we know of, that we would consider a government before the era or after the era of just people heading up tribes and killing each other for very scarce resources like you were talking about. Right. The very first thing that we could call a government actually started in Mesopotamia. And what it started from this was when irrigation first started. They first realized they could manipulate the flow of water so that they could actually, have crops outside of right next to the rivers. So instead of it having to be right by the river, well, hey, we can divert this and bring it there and we can start having farms everywhere. Wow. What about that? That was the beginning of more set farm-based society, agricultural post, this was when the actual recorded era began. This was the coming out of the Paleolithic era into the Neolithic era. And so in this era, there was a problem with, there's a fixed amount of water. How do we get it to all of the, we've got these ditches we've created. How do we make sure that everyone is getting the water that they need and that it's not being, improperly used by just the first person there and they're not, damming it so that only they get it and everything else. And so they had these people, which were this person who was the governor. And I forget what their term was called, but it was basically the best way it's translated now is ditch boss. So the first head of a government was basically the ditch boss. He was in charge of going, okay, listen, everyone here needs a certain amount of this water that's coming from this area. And if you want to be a part of this water, of getting this water, you've got to pay X amount to me, and me and my enforcers are going to make sure you get the water that you need. And no one along this line of the irrigation dams it off so only they get it. So no one gets to starve you or hoard it all for themselves, because everyone's going to pay an equal amount. Now, this wasn't a truly voluntary government, but it certainly wasn't a state. It was providing a specific service. It was a coercive service because it was, but it had an actual value and purpose for it. And from that, people started going, well, since you're taking care of the ditches, maybe you can take care of this. Mm-hmm. And since you're taking care of that, maybe you can take care of this. Maybe since you're taking care of this, you can take care of that. That is what led to what we now call government. It actually started as a group who provided a value and provided a service, and it was a coerced service. And from a combination of them saying, oh, I got this power, I can do whatever I want with it, and other people going, wow, they got that power, they can do whatever they want with it, that's what created this whole concept. Is because there wasn't already this discourse in place of people saying, no, I own myself, I have autonomy over me, I'm happy to hire you to do this one thing, but I don't want you handling all this other stuff.
Right. And it was also like, join your tribe or die. It's if you're not going to like connect with these people, they're going to shun you to the woods where you like, what, you're going to do everything yourself, build your shelter yourself. Cause back then that's what you had to do. So actually having other people who could specialize and be like, okay, you build the hut, I'll go gather food the whole day or whatever. Mm-hmm. It just was that kind of, that's it. Basic survival back then. And
exactly. Yeah. And the beauty is, for those who say, well, at that time, that was the only thing that could possibly be done for the technology and the society they had. Okay, fine. We've outgrown that. So if our government is essentially using the same, if not technology, the same concept behind the millennia old ditch boss model, and our society has been able to evolve thanks to market-driven innovations and technology, then we don't need ditch bosses anymore. Right, we can get the water that we need through providers that can provide water to us.
Bosses. They are the
we're the ditch boss, but now you can get water so many different ways. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Ditch boss like almost sounds like like a Christian track labeling, where it's like you like put it on your shirt and it's like a conversation starter to get you to like hear the gospel of Mises or something. It's like,
did you know that I'm the ditch boss?
Right. Yeah. It's
like, what is that?
It's like
my really, we're the bosses of our own ditch in our minds.
Yeah. Exactly. Either it could be like a reality show on like, True TV or something, like Ditch Boss. Like
Ditch Boss.
I gotta say, I love reading about the history of past humans. That's where we came from. And if you ever do an ancestry thing, it's just so meta, you could say, to think about this idea that like you just exist right now, but you never existed before. I mean, you, to your knowledge of your memory, at least, right?
Right.
You didn't exist before. This is like your time span. And before that, like a bunch of people like figured stuff out, failed, maybe died, probably died a lot.
Died a lot.
Most of them died. Well, they all died, but most of them died really early from making really bad mistakes. And everyone else looked and went, well, we're not going to do that again. And then they would go and nuts. It's like, don't eat that berry because you see what happened to Jim. That went poorly for Jim.
Yeah, it's
and then someone else is like, I bet Jim was just allergic to that berry, and he didn't go. Yeah, Jim was just allergic to that berry. Like, that's how many people had to die for us to find these different things out. So no, a lot of people died. And if you want to have an existential crisis while talking about history, then you can join us on July 17th at the Reload gun range, the largest gun range in the it's like the East Coast or something. It's the largest gun range somewhere. It's the largest, I think, like the country or something. It's like in Florida. It's the largest,
the top 5 largest indoor gun ranges in the United States.
There we go. One of the top 5 largest indoor gun ranges in the United States.
It's like
Reload Gun Range in Tarpon Springs, Florida. You can come join us on the 17th.
Get your practice in.
Go to events, PHOEVENTS.com and sign up today. We'd love to have you. Yes. I point back. Pointing finger. No, put it back. I'm touching fingers.
Yeah, would love to see you guys there.
The past self.
Love to see you guys.
Present self.
Yeah, it'll be. And thanks, Mike, for joining me, and being my co-host for my second ever event. It's second ever, but I think it'll be fun, and I think there'll be Yeah, good memories to be had, and
I'm excited.
building that personal connection, like you're saying. I mean, even from the first one, I networked with several people that I saw at like a Soho Forum event, that I saw again at the LPF conference. Like, it was really cool to actually start meeting your fellow libertarians. Like,
Yep.
and that's what it's about. So, I mean, if you can't go, you know, out of your state for whatever reason, I mean, look up the LP stuff around you. Maybe not even LP, look up different meetups and things like that, or start your own, or look into freedom cells. You know, just
and if the reason that you can't, and if the reason that you can't leave your state is because would violate your parole, we won't tell anyone.
That's true.
I won't tell anyone.
Your ankle bracelet,
so
Mike.
I will not. I'll be like, hey, great bracelet. I have no questions about it, and then we'll just go and do our thing.
Yeah.
If you have a bracelet, you probably shouldn't leave the state because they'll never.
Probably be in big trouble.
You know, on that,
I won't tell. I won't tell.
On that note, Spike, I would like to ask, how in your life, like just reflecting, have you kind of always been pretty like friendly and charismatic and able to connect with anybody, or was that something you kind of learned over time?
Am I that now? I mean
yes.
I thought so.
You're
very reasonable, and
I'm trying to be unlikable and like I'm trying to build. I thought I was building a pretty good like character of someone that no one liked. No, listen. I started my web design company when I was 16, and I very quickly learned it was less about how much you knew about websites, and how it was more about the connection you could build with the person that you were trying to sell the website to. And that it was, and I come from a sales family. Like, we're all in sales, we're all in leadership positions for sales, or we all own a company where we're selling something. Like, we're salespeople, and I learned very quickly that people are buying you first. They're buying in on believing in you. And there's that old phrase, no one cares what you know until they know that you care. And if you can demonstrate that you care about people and that you are someone who can be trusted and someone who understands what's going on, then you can bring them to what your solution is for that. And that thing used to be selling websites. And I was able to grow that into something that allowed me to be able to retire a few years ago. When I decided to bring that to politics, I basically just brought that same thing over. And that's essentially what I'm doing now. And at this point, what I'm trying to do is to excite and encourage and educate and lead others in how they can do this too, because there's nothing magical about me or what I'm doing. I mean, I guess some of it's just my personality, but it's also something that can be learned. And I'm applying a tried and true formula for how to, as I tell everyone, people tell me they ask me, what are the books that you recommend for libertarians? And we're all supposed to like talk about, our favorite Mises and Rothbard and Spooner and, whoever else books, Hazlitt and everything else. And my thing is go and read The State by Frederick Bastiat, because it gives a basic outline of if the government is to exist, these are the only things it should be involved in and everything else it shouldn't be. Then go and read No Treason by Spooner, because he then explains using English common law why and concepts of consent, why none of this is legitimate. And then when you're done licking your wounds from that and finding out you're an anarchist, then go and read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, because that is where it's at. That is the bread and butter of how to be able to make connections with people. I do think, like, personality wise, I've always been like this, but these are all things you can still learn. You may not be, a guru of networking, and you might not even want to do it. It might not be something you're into, but we can all learn how to be more influential and get people not just behind your ideas, but actually excited about them and excited to go out and spread the word to others as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and I'm with you. I know that, there's differences between people. Some are very extroverted, some are more introverted.
Right.
But I think most people, I've yet to meet a person who like truly just wants to be alone and doesn't
all the time. No
love, no connection, no friends. Like unless they're like extremely traumatized, right? And they've been alienated that much. than
Yeah.
that, like environmental. But in terms of
Right.
like common human need, it's pretty universal from what I've seen that everyone wants connection. So even if you're not someone who's like, I'm gonna go be and like be friends with everyone at the conference, just knowing how to like connect with someone, actually communicate, how to listen,
Yeah.
how to handle conflict,
Yeah.
how to be honest, how to be vulnerable. It's really important social skills, I think, that everyone should learn. And I think it only serves to really enrich your life, giving you a chance to actually like connect with someone and feel that
Yeah.
connection with another human being and know that they see you and you see them, and that it's okay. We're both alive.
And
Yeah.
then that gets them excited about what you're. Once they see that
Yeah.
you're a real person, that you recognize they're a real person, you made a connection, they
I'm a
know that you
real
care.
Yeah.
I'm a real boy. And now you can show them that you understand what's going on, and you can present
Yeah.
them with solutions on how to do this, like how we can
Right.
fix this. Which is why I reject this false dichotomy that we have in this movement and in this party, that you either have to be this, that in order to be they understand you have to be relatable, but they're like, well, the way you're relatable is by you just say the same damn thing they've already heard 1,000 times. You water down your message so it sounds easy to absorb to them, and you present that, and that makes you relatable. Well, no, that makes you sound like nothing different than anyone else. The only real difference between you and them is that your likelihood of winning is way lower. You're inspiring nothing. You're changing nothing. No one cares about you. The other thing that you can do, the other side of that false dichotomy is, well, you need to go and be an edgelord, bold and principled edgelord. Go out there and say stuff that gets people pissed off. And say smash the state and knock over people's chairs and call people who have their kids in schools welfare queens, and call anyone who got duped into signing up in the military as a teenager a murderer, and like be very crude and mean and give no quarter to anyone. Mm-hmm. Which, of course, that rarely works, because now people are like, oh, that guy's a prick. I don't want to hear anything he has to say.
All right.
They never even, their hackles go up, their cognitive defenses go way up, and now not only are they rejecting everything you're saying, but they're actually storing the things you're saying so that if anyone else says it, they know to push them away too. Mm-hmm. So they're actually not pushing away what you're saying. They're actually taking all of it in so they can go, oh yeah, I hate this person, and now I'm going to hate everyone else.
Be like, this is what libertarians are like. He was this guy that like didn't even listen to me, just like didn't even hear what I had to say, didn't even care to understand, just kept telling me like what I should believe, and I think that that's like a fundamental mindset change. It's like when you look at a human, do you feel like patient, and do you have the desire to connect and understand them? Or do you feel like impatient? You're just like trying to control them. You're like, I gotta get like 20 votes or whatever. Okay, this guy, like, I gotta get him to say, he's gonna vote for me. And like, it just becomes like, and I've been in sales. I know what it's like to be in that mindset where you're just like for the commission. You don't even see that person anymore in front of you, really. You don't care about their lifestyle. You're just like, are you gonna buy this or what? You know what I mean? Because you're like, I gotta eat.
And long term, that doesn't work, and it burns people out that are trying to do that. The best salespeople are the one that have people calling them to buy the stuff because they've gotten so many people excited about their product or their service that they're now going out and telling others to come to them to provide that thing. They're selling themselves, and then once you start with empathy, you start with empathy, and you start with relation building. Then from there, you go to understanding. You show that you understand what's going on, and to knowledge. You show that you are knowledgeable about what's going on. Then you go to the solution. Then you go to how we can fix it. That is how you can present. That is how I did a interview with during the campaign with a bunch of union teachers in California, and got them all excited about privatized education by the end of the thing, because I started by reflecting and understanding what they were going through, empathizing with what it was like for them to have to struggle with being a teacher under this system. And then from there I went to showing an understanding of how we got here and a knowledge of how we got here, and then providing the solution for how to fix it. When you do it that way, when you provide it in that way, you can take people on the journey to the most radical interpretation of libertarianism all the way up until anarcho-capitalism. But you got to start with empathy. And if you don't start with empathy, then leave it to someone who's going to start with empathy. Maybe your talents are best suited to do stuff in the back end, to help with infrastructure, to help with putting stuff together, to help with materials, to help with, designing stuff, making sure everyone shows up to something. There are all sorts of skills that you may have. Your skill may not be, being the front facing person to go talk to the general public. Right. So,
Right.
yeah, and that's perfectly fine.
Definitely.
Right.
Definitely. I think that each person should, though, because you, as a human being out there, like you, whatever you are, libertarian or not, like if you really believe your idea is like part of it is, showing that you really care and like making that personal connection with others. And I know it's easier said than done.
Absolutely.
And I would say the common thing that I see in the liberty movement is most people, before even starting with empathizing with others, they need to actually first empathize with themselves and understand, like, look, okay,
Yes.
am I even happy? Like, am I happy with what I'm doing? Am I happy with the habits that I've acquired and lifestyle habits I've acquired in my life, eating habits, like working out habits, all that, and because you really can't influence others if you yourself, if your room is not in order, your house is not in order, if you're like, hey,
Make your bed.
yeah, like I'm going to propose a solution to make you happy, but someone looks at you and they're like, you do not look happy. Maybe
You look
you're like,
miserable. Yeah.
you're this old, several relationships failed, or like when you talk to them, they don't really see you, right? They're just kind of more impulsive and you don't really know if you're being heard. So like those things like really, even if not consciously, subconsciously are picked up by the other person.
Exactly.
And they just kind of sense that, and you're not someone that they can, like you're saying, building trust. You're not someone they can really look up to. They don't, they can't really trust that you yourself live this kind of lifestyle that you preach and that.
Exactly. Stop scaring people's lizard brains. And folks, if you want to talk about your lizard brain, come this weekend I'm going to be in Greensboro, North Carolina for the Libertarian Party of North Carolina convention. Go to spikecohen.com and click on events, and you can come and see all the events that I'm doing. But one of those events that's coming up in just over a month is on July 17th in Reload Gun Range in Tarpon Springs, Florida. The three of us, these two Jews and this suspiciously Asian woman here, are going to be.
Wait, I thought I was also local Jew. You remember 20?
Oh, that's right. These three various levels of Jew people here are going to be
levels,
as well as my wife Tasha, who's Jewish by marriage, will be in Reload Gun Range in Tarpon Springs, Florida. Come hang out with us. Go to PHOEvents, PHOEVENT, I know how to spell events, PHOEVENTS.com, and register, sign up today. Can't wait to meet you. Can't wait to pew with all of you. And let's have a great time. And again, if anyone's in North Carolina this weekend, come on out, lpnc.org. Come sign up for the convention. I'd love to get to meet y'all in person. And Jack and Fo, thank you so much for having me on.
Of course. Thanks so much, Spike. We're excited to see you soon. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.